زرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها. Allah gives an example for the good word as a good tree. Its roots on the ground, firm on the ground, and its branches at the sky, and gives its fruit, give its good consequences in all seasons. The good person and the great person that who give good result and good fruit for the humanity, and they can tell he is a good person by the result of what he does. So the question raised here, if we look at the scientists, to philosophers, and to the scholars that who served the humanity, that who gave a lot for human beings, such as Einstein's, Edison's, and other scholars, we find they have left big legacy behind them to serve the life of humanity. If we compare them to Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim, we find Ahlul Bayt, they did not leave nothing for humanity to serve the humanity except some ahkam of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, some rules which they instructed from Holy Quran, or they narrated it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi, and that's can any other narrator can narrate from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi this kind of ahkam, right? So we cannot find Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam left big legacy as those people who serve the humanity, those who discover, like Einstein, he discovered Newton, he discovered the gravity. Edison discovered the electricity, right? They serve the humanity. But what Ahlul Bayt have done for this humanity, right? This is a question always rise now. You see, even when you talk to our Muslim brothers, Sunni brothers, they say, you are exaggerating about Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Why? They said, what did they give for humanity? Even some people today, they said, why are you praising and exaggerating about your scholars, your maraja? Did they invent like an iPhone? Did they invent some cars? Did they invent any of this technology? They didn't do nothing, right? Why are you putting them in that high quality and that high status? For what? You see, that question always there. I remember one of our sheikhs, Maulana, he said, I went to the market to buy something, so I took a taxi. And the cab driver looked at me and he said, Maulana, I want to ask you a question. I said, what kind of question? He said, like, let's assume we wake up tomorrow and we cannot find any doctors. What's going to happen? I said, well, a lot of people may die because all patients depends on doctors, right? So that will make really this big distraction for people. He said, that's okay. So what about if we wake up and we cannot find bakeries? He said, maybe a lot of people, they will die of hunger because they don't know how to make a bread. He said, what about if we wake up tomorrow and we cannot find any sheikhs, any maulanas? What's going to happen? I said, well, nothing is going to happen. Everything will remain the same. But I want to ask you, that Maulana said to him, to the driver, I want to ask you this question here. Are you praying? He said, yes, I pray this. I told him, well, as long as you pray, because you want to reach to Allah, right? He said, yes. I said, then you need the sheikh for your prayer. Do you fast? He said, yes. I said, then you need the sheikh for your fasting. Do you get married or your son? He said, yes. I said, then you need the sheikh for your marriage, right? So that question always there. What Ahlul Bayt have done except they have ahkam of Islam? You see? The answer, actually, it's very detailed. It's a dry topic, but I'm going to I try to make it briefly because I don't have a lot of time. The answer for that is as following. When we look to this is very important. You can answer that question to anyone. When we look to the human science, human knowledge, we can divide them into 4 kinds. The first kind of knowledge, it's physical knowledge. Physical knowledge which talk about the nature. And for an instant, if we talk about the law of gravity and how much that law of gravity control the solar system, how much effect to control the solar system, that's all physical things, is material things. If we talk about the details of body of mankind, like such as eyes, hearts, brain, digestive system, that's all physical, isn't it? And the only way to reach to the information of physical knowledge, it's the experimental way to do it. So every information that you can get for physical knowledge, you have to try something. You have to experiment something to have the knowledge, right? There's no other way. And of course, there are a lot of scholars who've been famous with that kind of field of knowledge. So this is the first kind of knowledge, is the physical knowledge. The second knowledge is the psychological knowledge. And that talking about how to know the nafs of mankind. And when they come to this kind of knowledge, they start dividing the nafs, the self. They said there is a blaming nafs, there is evil nafs, there is a tranquil nafs, there is satisfying nafs, there is, like, for example, a pleased nafs, there is inspired nafs, there is a perfect nafs, extra. And they talk about the intellect, the brain, the mind of mankind. Also, they say there is conscious mind, there is unconscious mind, there is internal mind, there is external mind. You see, they divide it. And the only way to understand or to take some information about psychological knowledge is the meditation. They meditate the nafs of mankind to have that kind of knowledge. Like, for example, if you go to the psychologist, right, they ask you many questions to understand what's going on with your, let's say, psychological disorder. They ask you about how you eat, how you sleep, how you react, how you act, you see? So they can reach from that information into your nafs, see? So this is the second kind of knowledge. The third kind of knowledge, it's philosophical knowledge, which that kind of knowledge is speaking about the reality of the objects in this world and what's the relationship between those objects and the nature. And of course, our ulama, they don't encourage people to study philosophy, because that's destroy the mind of mankind. And there are some scholars also, they've been so famous, like Freud and other scholars, they been famous to do this kind of knowledge, to be specialized. So each kind of knowledge, those three knowledge we have mentioned, each kind of them, they have special people, special scholars to be specified. But we have the fourth kind of knowledge. It's called al-ilm al-tajridi, abstracted knowledge. And the meaning of abstracted knowledge, al-ilm al-tajridi, means talking about the the world of creation and the world of command. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala have mentioned that in the Holy Quran. قال ألا له الخلق وله الأمر. The creation is for Allah and the command of also for Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We have two kind of world here. World of creation and world of amr, command. The world of creation, which means everything that Allah has created has lifespan, has certain time, and it's created from materials. Everything. For instance, we as human beings, Allah created us from clay, from soil, right? And we have certain time to live in this life, then will be expired, right? We have certain lifespan. If you look at the sky, Allah created it from material. And Allah says there is certain time for that, for the sky to be destroyed. Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَوْمَ نَطْوِ السَّمَاءَ كَطَيِّ السِّجِلِّ لِلْكُتُبِ. The day that we fold the sky as we roll the written book, as well as for mountain, as well as for other stars, galaxies, even earth. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, earth, we created it from soil and it has certain time to be aged. Allah says, يَوْمَ نُبَدِّلُ الْأَرْضَ غَيْرَ الْأَرْضِ. The day that we replace this earth with another earth. Now, how this is needs some explanation. Is not time for it. So, all the scientists I have mentioned, those scholars and philosophers, they speaking about the creation of world, the materialism world. But we have another world, it's called the world of command, alamiri. And the world of command is totally opposite than the world of creation, because it has no material and has no time. Which is, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has mentioned in the Holy Quran, He says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. They ask you about the soul. قُلُ الرُّوحِ from, say the soul from Amru Rabbi, is that right? Allah did not say soul from the creation of my Lord. No, He says from, Hassan, from the command. This is the different world, from the command world. As well as for the nafs, soul, nafs. Also the intellect, our intellect, aql. Aql is not something material and has no limit time to live. You see? Aql is from the world of command, min amri rabbi. As well as for fu'ad, when you recite Holy Quran, you find words of fu'ad, or sometimes qalb, heart, but it does not mean that material heart that we have here in our chest. It's something from the command of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, from the world of command. So all those philosophers and high scholars speaking about the world of creation, about the materialistic world. So now we have a question. Now that world, the other world, what Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala talking about, He called it alam al-amr, which is the alam of unseen, alam of day of judgment. You can call it whatever. How can we know that world? How can we know the secret of that? How can we understand the way that we are going to live in that world? Because that world, we're going to live in it for eternity. Shouldn't we have an idea about that world? All those scholars, they speak about this world, but they have no idea. They have not even idea about one letter of the other world. Who's going to tell us? Accept prophets, accept anbiya, our a'imma salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim. You see, those scholars, yes, they give us some technology here, but how long that technology will live with us? As long as we're living this materialism life. But what about after? We're going to live not billions of years. There is no end for our living in the other world. Who's going to take us to that world and make us understand and make us live peacefully in the other world? And give us, well, let's say, technology in the other world. Who's going to do that? Except Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim. You see? This is the difference. People always look at what they have in their hands. Like if we go back, for example, if we go back, well, 10 centuries. Not 10 centuries, even like 2 centuries, 3 centuries, whatever. We cannot find this technology, right? But we find people followed the way of Allah, the way of Rasulullah, the way of Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim, and they lived peacefully and they gone from this world peacefully so they can live in the other world. So what about if tomorrow all that technology for some reason stopped working? Then what? Are we going to stop living? We have to live. But we are living to go through to the other world that we're going to live the rest of our lives. That's why Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانُ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah says, the real life, the genuine life, not here. It's there. So the way that takes us to the genuine life, Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim. You see, this is different. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa has called them as stars. قال أهل بيتي كالنجوم. My family are just like stars. بأيهم اقتديتم اهتديتم. Whoever comes from them to lead you, then you will be guided by them. You see? Guided to whom? Guided to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Because Allah says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم ملاقوه. Fear Allah and make sure that you're going to meet with Him. Not meeting with Him here. We're going to meet with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala the day of judgment. And also those philosophers and those inventors, did they do that for Allah or they did that for themselves to be famous? They did maybe for some money. All the inventors today, when they invent some technology, you see iPhone, they put some new features in it, they sell it for $1,700, right? But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says about Ahlul Bayt and the other prophets, قال في سورة ياسين, Allah says those prophets they teach you without reward. I don't remember the verse exactly, but one. La. Anyways, Allah says, follow those messengers who they don't ask you for reward. All what they do, they guide you to me. They guide you to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. See, this is the difference between whatever they mention about those inventors today and in old days and Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim. And today is the remembrance of the martyrdom of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far salawatullahi wa salamuhu. He's one of those. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One of the greatest people. He lived under the ground for 15, some people they say 18 years, but he did not forget how he can manage to to take his ilm, knowledge, for the followers of Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim, so he can lead them to the safe way to Allah, to the good way to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He did his hardest through his wukala and agencies, you see? That's why we're not exaggerating about Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim. We're just giving them what we understand from their status. They are a lot higher than what we understand. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the one He created them, He said about them, قال إنما هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. Allah says, I am the one who taught Ahlul Bayt. I am the one who gave them knowledge Just imagine Allah, the Creator, given knowledge for Ahlul Bayt Salam Alayhim. Can they be equals with those people, just have their own knowledge to serve themselves? I would not say they served the humanity. They served themselves first through the humanity. See, this is different. اللهم نسألك وندعوك بحق محمد وآل محمد وبحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها أن تصلي على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحصاه كتابك وأحاط به علمك. اللهم ونسألك بباب الحوائج موسى بن جعفر عليه السلام، اللهم إلا ما قضيت حوائجنا ويسرت أمورنا، اللهم وشافيت مرضانا، اللهم إنك قوي عزيز، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفار والمنافقين وأيد وسدد علماء الدين، لا سيما العلماء الربانيين. اللهم احفظ وأيد وسدد السيد علي الخامنئي واحفظ الجمهورية الإسلامية بحفظك إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.